Day 12 in Frameworks, Jesus created the universe. This is one of many times perhaps through this course so far where we've wanted to say, no, we mean God, and by God we kind of mean the Father. He's the one who does most of the God stuff, and Jesus does some really amazing miracles when he's walking around on earth, but the rest of the time, well, we're not really sure about the rest of the time. That seems to be where most Christians net out. This phrase in the first page where it talked about Jesus sitting on his hands, wondering what to do for endless ages. That is an implication of how we often talk about Jesus, but not one that we voice very often. I wonder how you found John 1, verses 1 to 10, compared with Genesis 1, verses 1 to 5. It's a great sadness that these passages of the Bible have not really been meditated on for their implications for Jesus often among Christians today, because the Genesis passage is embroiled in all kinds of controversy about science stuff, and the John 1 passage often is just at Christmas. We enjoy it and kind of think it's profound without necessarily realizing that John is teaching us what Genesis 1 says. So one of these questions asked of Genesis 1, who is God speaking to when he says, "Let there be light"? As soon as we ask that question, it kind of gets to work in us. We know that he says, "Let us." So there is this plurality in God throughout that chapter. But when he's saying, "Let there be light," well, who is that? Who's he talking to? And where does the light then come from? Because the Lord doesn't create light. He says, "Let there be light. Let light be visible. Let light be understood for what it is. Let this be the way that everything else will become visible from now on." And John is telling us at that moment, I hope you got to this from your own study of John 1 and Genesis 1, that at that moment the Father was saying to the Son, you are going to be the way that everything works in this creation. You are going to shine brightness and light over everything. Everything I want to do is going to be most clearly visible and proclaimed by you, my Son. And these ancient fathers, Cyril of Jerusalem and Hilary of Poitiers, just those two in the sidebar, they were much more frank in saying all this than we tend to be. And one of my passions, and I know one of Paul Blackham's passions, is to rediscover that excitement and joy that the early fathers had with this huge vision of Jesus as he truly is revealed to be in the Bible, without some other idea about God or about creation, which keeps it in a box and keeps us only ever saying certain things about it, but trying to go deeper to appreciate what is being taught us about this triune God, the way he does everything always. And really something we're regularly proclaimed as we look at these, regularly taught as we look at these older church fathers expounding parts of the Bible perhaps we're familiar with but haven't really paid attention to, becomes clear the Father always does everything he does, particularly creating the world, through the Son. He plans it and he gives it to Jesus to actually do it in the power of the Holy Spirit. And as soon as we start to really grasp that this man, Jesus of Nazareth, who is walking around, who was born of a virgin, created everything, and that everything is for him, that he owns everything. He owns the brain we're using to think about him, the mouth we're using to speak about him. He owns whatever it is we're looking at, this phone that I'm talking into now, the minds that made it, the sun that's streaming into the window, the light even that is coming from this electric filament in the bulbs. Jesus owns that. And he's actively keeping it going right now. That is the truth the Bible proclaims to us. And that is the truth the Father wants us to delight in and to meditate on. Is our vision of Jesus getting bigger yet? I hope that will be the fruit of our studies over these next few days.